Hello everyone, I'm back with another edition of What's on My Desk.
Please now.
Yes, I am back, and today I'm going to show you 3 watches for Elon Musk. Let's have a look.
1, 0, all engine running.
It's beautiful.
First watch I'm going to start with is one of the most complicated self-winding movements out there. This is the 𝗙𝗏𝗡𝗍 Royal Oak Grand Complication. 𝗙𝗏𝗡𝗍 started when 𝗴𝗿𝗲𝗍 and Louis Audemars met. It was love at first sight. And they got together to form the company called 𝗙𝗏𝗡𝗍. Family owned and operated since 1874. Both of these guys were watchmakers, but Audemars actually got his career started by making highly complicated movements for Tiffany & Co. for their pocket watches. So these guys were no joke going in. They were not rookies. Some of their accomplishments: 1892, they created the first minute repeater wristwatch. 1934, they created the first skeleton watch. 1946, right post the World War II, they created one of the world's thinnest watches. The movement on that watch was like 1.64 millimeters, like this big. And of course, I'm gonna jump right to 1972, my favorite time in their history, when Gerald Genta, literally overnight, designed the Royal Oak. It was the first luxury sports watch made in stainless steel. People were going crazy. How the hell does a steel watch cost so much money?
It's kind of expensive.
The Royal Oak models, including this, that is also a Royal Oak, is one of the hottest models selling 50 years later. Then I'm gonna skip ahead to 1995-96.
Hammer time!
That is when 𝗙𝗏𝗡𝗍 created the watch you see here, which is the world's first grand complication movement that is fully automatic, i.e. self-winding. This watch is essentially a 648-part jigsaw puzzle that's put together by a single watchmaker, and it takes 6 months plus to make the watch, all by a single watchmaker, no assembly line. And mind you, this watch gets put together and taken apart 3 times before it actually goes out to a client, out to a boutique, to ensure the highest level of accuracy and the highest level of functionality. So let's talk about the 3 major functions, right? The minute repeater. The minute repeater is a mechanism within the watch that will audibly chime the time to you, and it's one of the most elaborate complications a mechanical watch can have. To put it in layman's terms, you have a mechanical watch that will chime out the time in case you can't see it. Like perhaps you're in the movie theater, way in the back row, in the dark, by yourself, and you want to know what time it is. You just set it off and it'll tell you what time it is. Here's a tip: don't eat yellow snow. No, that's not the tip. The tip is that whenever you set off the minute repeater, don't do anything to the watch until the gongs are done chiming.
No touchy. No touchy.
There's a lot happening within the movement for those gongs to go off. I've had an instance where clients would try to set the time of the watch or try to set the minute repeater again because they didn't hear the chimes or something. That can screw up your Royal Oak royally. Next, let's talk about the chronograph. A lot of people downplay how complicated the complication chronograph really is. Now, the chronograph in this watch is a split-second chronograph. So what does that mean? That means that you get to measure lap time. So the second hand literally splits on you if you want to see time elapsed or difference between laps. Think horses, think Olympics, think car races, think kids running around the backyard. And of course, last but not least, another highly complicated complication is the perpetual calendar. It will literally show you what date it is, what day of the week it is, what month it is, what year it is.
What year is it?
All while even telling you if it's a leap year or not. And on top of that, it will show you the phase of the moon, where you are today. What makes it super complicated is the fact this entire thing is an automatic. Mind you, with all this functionality, you don't have a little guy sitting inside the watch, letting off gongs, or a little hamster in the wheel getting this watch going. It winds itself with the help of the rotor in the back. That means if you set this watch and you wear it all the time, the watch will continue going on you perpetually, pun intended.
You just set it and forget it.
It's 45 millimeters, not for a tiny wrist. It obviously is made out of 18-karat rose gold. It's got a 50-hour power reserve. It comes on a bracelet as well as a strap. And it's water resistant up to 20 meters. So you can actually go swimming in this watch. Now you're asking yourself a question, why would Elon Musk buy this watch from me? Well, guess what? He doesn't have a choice. This particular unit is actually a piece unique. That's right, it's one of one. There's only one of these in the world. So Elon, if you want this watch, you're gonna have to come down here and get this watch from me. Actually, I'm just kidding. I will literally jump into a Tesla and drive that watch over to you personally if you want it, Elon. It was actually made for the 𝗏𝗏𝗏 Foundation. It's a nonprofit based in Montreal which focuses on raising awareness for water-related issues. It aims to ensure sustainable access to safe water for vulnerable countries and communities across the world. A very super noble cause. This thing comes with like 100 boxes. Starting with the special box that they gave you that literally says the 𝗏𝗏𝗏 Foundation right at the top. Then they gave you a winding box because this watch is an automatic. It's actually a really beautiful box that you can set the watch on the winder.
You just set it and forget it.
And it will keep winding because if you don't want to wear that every day, you don't want the watch to stop, so you have to reset the perpetual calendar, etc.
Just set it and you forget about it.
And they give you this nifty little loop. The last box is the biggest surprise of them all. So this looks like a piano. But is it a piano? Because if you open it up, it looks like a guitar. We laid rubber on a Georgia asphalt. We got a little crazy, but we never got caught down by the river on the Friday night.
It's a no for me, dog.
This is not a piano. This is not a guitar. What this is actually an amplifier for the minute repeater. So it's designed where you take the watch, you put it on top of this, and as the watch chimes, it will amplify the sound and make it sound even more beautiful. Very difficult to gauge the market on this watch because it's one of a kind. I will tell you that the selling price of this watch is $750,000, which, by the way, is an equivalent of 6 Teslas on your wrist. Why is this the perfect watch for Elon? Well, for one, let's start with the fact that he can afford it, and for two, I do believe that this big watch will match his big rocket.
That's what she said.
Okay, Chelsea. Now, obviously, we all know about Elon Musk and SpaceX, which I am extremely, extremely impressed by. And what I'm also very impressed by is a gentleman by the name of Max Buser, whom I dubbed to be the Elon Musk of the world of horology, which brings me to our next watch, which is the mb&f HM6, nicknamed very appropriately the Space Pirate. This thing is straight out of Area 52. Limited edition of 50 pieces in titanium. Case size is 49.5 millimeters wide by 52.3 millimeters tall and 20 millimeters thick. I know it sounds large, but doesn't really feel or look that big. This thing happens to have a 72-hour power reserve, which is the exact amount of time it takes to get to the moon. Water resistant up to 30 meters. If we ever find water on Mars. 475 components make up this watch, and this watch has 68 joules. That's a lot of joules for a watch. Average joules on a watch is about 27, just FYI. Let's talk about the MB and the mb&f, and that is Max Buser. Guy got a start from 𝗙𝗓𝗪, then moved on to Harry Winston. He introduced the Opus series for Harry Winston. This was Harry Winston's way to show everybody how big their dick is, and to show off some master horology, not to be dubbed just that other jewelry company. So Max invited all kinds of talented independent watchmakers to collab with, starting with 𝗙𝗰𝗲𝗀𝗍, that was the Opus 1. He also did a thing with 𝗵𝗐𝗍, I believe that was the Opus 4. And the last Opus that he did was the Opus 5, that was his last collab, and that's when he brought in Felix Baumgartner, and that gave birth to a brand we now know as 𝗪𝗏. If you look at the Opus 5, and any of the 𝗪𝗏s, you'll see a humongous similarity. It was at that point that Max said, I'm gonna do my own thing, and he started Max Buser and Friends, and continued doing the same thing he did at Harry Winston by inviting talented watchmakers to collab with in order to make these amazing, amazing horological wonders. Max himself was inspired by space age style cartoons from the 60s and 70s. I believe these were French cartoons. And this thing can legitimately look like it's a prop for a cartoon or even Star Wars, if you ask me. Now, this thing is also shockingly light. It's made out of titanium alloy, which is a very, very light and durable metal, perfect for making rockets. What a coincidence. So how do you tell time on this thing? Because at a glance, you're like, what the hell is even that?
What the hell is even that?
I'll quickly go through the functions with you. It's actually a lot simpler than what it looks. You have 2 bubbles on the bottom. One will show the hours and the other one will show the minutes. And then the other 2 bubbles on the top, that's actually the winding mechanism. This watch is an automatic. So when you wear this watch and you jerk it,
That's what she said.
you'll see these things spin and wind the watch. Now the middle bubble is actually a tourbillon. This tourbillon is meant to be protected. You'll notice 2 crowns on the watch, right? Which makes it pretty symmetrical, but the one crown will set the time, the other crown will actually close the tourbillon bubble, protecting it from UV lights. Now UV lights can actually be pretty bad to a watch movement because they dry up the oil inside the mechanism. This watch doesn't come on a bracelet, only comes on a strap. I think it would be pretty awkward on a bracelet. That's the perfect strap with the perfect buckle to match the watch. The buckle itself has a pretty avant-garde futuristic design. I always tell you guys, watches are not an investment, they're an expensive toy. But this watch trades at $250,000. So it's literally an expensive toy, which is perfect for Elon Musk. Last but not least, this watch is $40 million. No, it's not. This watch is not $40 million. It actually is the most inexpensive watch on here. I'm talking about one of the most iconic watches ever made, the Omega Speedmaster. That watch actually belongs to our guy, Nick. Remember that guy that jumped out of an airplane? That's his personal watch that we decided to borrow for this episode. Introduced in 1957 specifically for the Olympic Games. Official timekeeper, Omega. And of course, this was the first watch in space and the moon. Why? NASA conducted a bunch of tests to a bunch of different watches to see which ones would be best for guys going to space for the first time. They tortured these watches and tortured to a point where I don't know how it even withstood the stuff that they did to it. Low and high temperatures, heavy humidity, pressure tests, shock tests. They subjected the watch to 40 Gs at a time. A human dies at 9 Gs, so that was a lot of pressure. And it was only Omega that actually passed all the tests. The other watches actually failed. In 1970, it was NASA that awarded the Snoopy Award to Omega. Now, what is the Snoopy Award? I'm gonna read this. The Snoopy Award is given out by NASA to its contractors if they had accomplished single specific achievements that have had significant impact or attainment of a particular human spaceflight program goal while ensuring quality and safety. A lot of big words for an immigrant in there. You guys are all familiar with the Snoopy watches, and they're all selling at triple list, and they're extremely, extremely desirable. Probably the most collected Speedies out there to date in terms of modern watches. You can pick up Speedmasters as cheap as $3,000, as expensive as $250,000 if you're gonna go backwards to vintage pieces, especially those that turn tropical. But it's actually a very, very affordable watch that pretty much anyone can have. But why should Elon Musk have it? Because A, this is an absolute classic. B, it's one of the most accurate and is designed to go into space. If Elon is going to live on Mars, he's gotta have one of these watches. It's just an absolute must. And worst case scenario, he can pass the watch on to his son, whose name is... It looks like he literally smashed his head against the keyboard to name his son. I cannot pronounce that. So these are my 3 picks for Elon Musk's. Now, as I said, Elon, if you're interested in any of these, I'll be driving over to you or flying. I'll parachute down, whatever you like. And for the rest of you guys, you know where to find us. What I wanted to also ask you, as usual, is please don't forget to hit the like button. Comment on this video. Tell me what you want to see next. Ask me any questions you may want me to answer on this show. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Hit the bell button for notifications and share this video with those that you may think will enjoy this content. Other than that, I'll see you guys next time.